Hi guys, I'm glad you're all here. Thank you very much for joining me. I want to bring your attention to the snow that's on the boardwalk. Some people might say that, there's not a lot of snow. It's an optical illusion. But if you look, it is as tall as the railing here. And because it's up off the ground, a lot of snow. Whereas on the ground, you can see we don't have a lot of snow. They're currently looking at Beehive. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. Today is February 22nd, 2022, and it's currently -2 degrees there at Yellowstone. Yeah, winds are pretty bad. Yesterday there was hardly any visibility on the camera because of the blizzard. Off on the left here where they got the plaque for the sign, you can see we got snow built up over here. Yeah, it looks a little dirty. So what's going on with Yellowstone? Well, they moved the camera. Old Faithful's currently going off. And yeah, you can see the snow on the roof of the Old Faithful Hotel. Yeah, it's near the end of the eruption. I've talked about mixing of magma chambers, such as the Tonga mixing, which created the huge eruption that occurred there within 1 hour. This paper here was published December of last year, and it says that the magma there in Yellowstone is now actually not 10 to 15% melt, but 16 to 20% melt. USGS is reporting 27 earthquakes within the last week, the latest being a magnitude 0.8. And this is the area, I'll just call it the Grizzly Lake Fault. I doubt if it was a 0.8, but I'll go to the location on Google Earth map. I don't have all the earthquakes. I did post this 0.8. And this up over here is Grizzly Lake, where the fault system runs through. This is also an area where they had a rhyolite eruption of magma flow and also basalt. This fault line is very active, and let me bring it down, and it goes all the way down. Let's see here. Joining up with this other fault line down by the Madison River area. I've often said you got to keep up with the new research, and this was just from December of last year, only 4 months ago that it was published. Recently, there's been a lot of activity showing dike intrusion down here by Denny Creek, which is near Hedgen Lake. Okay, and I also got the western boundary monitor that I've downloaded. And here we got Holmes Hill and the Borehole 207, which once again stopped working. I do have some data from that, but I want to show you Denny Creek. On the left is Denny Creek. Next to it is the western boundary. This here is Holmes Hill, and this is the Borehole. Yeah, it stopped working at almost 6 o'clock, it looks like. The most recent earthquake, we'll go to Denny Creek, is at 13:37 Universal Time. And you can see the line of melt. There's actually 2 lines of melt, and I've talked about how I believe there's cracks coming up, dike intrusion. The magma's trying to come up in that area. And it rattled on for quite a bit, and it comes in as a magnitude 2.24. The first wave of the earthquake looks like it came from the north. Let me make this bigger because this has been going on for quite a while. We got harmonic tremors. I don't know if I can make it much bigger. There you go. This probably would have shown up on 4 monitors but the borehole stopped working. So let's go back and let me pull this up. Here it is on Holmes Hill. We'll make that one bigger. There it is. Yeah, see how this fault line, let me go to the seismic signature there. Yeah, it doesn't really show up too well. A little bit of rattling, but it does show up on the spectrogram. And you can see the melt line, how much magma we got below this one heavier form of melt line. And here's the earthquake at Holmes Hill. So it was not caused by snowmobiles or snow coaches, anything like that. So this would have been at about 6:37 a.m. local time for that earthquake. And yeah, it looks like we got a bigger one right here. Let's go to the spectrogram. Yeah, definitely bigger. 11:19 universal time. That would have been 4:19 universal. It almost looks like two earthquakes. Yeah, it was two earthquakes. But we'll just add them all in together to see how large it was. That comes in as a magnitude 2.39. Yeah, we got dike intrusion going on. Yeah, and I just hope they don't have a mixing of the magma, even though there is a history of this area having a mixing of the magma and creating, a huge eruption there, what I will call Grizzly Creek Fault. Again, it looks like this earthquake actually came from the north of this monitor's location. Yeah, harmonic tremors. I don't know if you can see, but down here, how it rattled for quite a while. See how thick that line is? Let's go to the spectrogram. Yeah. It actually probably started to settle down over here. Here's a paper that was published in 2016 about that location and the mixing of the magma. Magma mixing is a widespread petrogenetic process. It has long been suspected to operate in concert with fractional crystallization and assimilation to produce chemical and temperature granites in magma. In particular, the injection of mafic magmas into phasic magma chambers is widely regarded as a key driver in the sudden triggering of what is often become highly explosive volcanic eruptions. Understanding the mechanism event chain leading to such hazardous events is a scientific goal of high priority. Here we investigate a mingling event via the evidence preserved in mingled lavas using a combination of X-ray computed microtomographic and electron microbe analysis to unravel the complex textures and attendant chemical heterogeneities of the mixed basalt and rhyolite eruption of Grizzly Lake. This was in the Norris Mammoth corridor of Yellowstone Plateau volcanic field. We observe evidence of both magmatic, viscous interior fingering of magmas and disk equilibrium crystallization dissolvation process occur. Now the fractures and the dike intrusion is not the mixing of the magma. That is caused by the crust of the earth becoming more and more brittle. Here it says the mixing of these two extreme end members may have required decompression of the lower basalt magma chamber during the eruption of the overlying rhyolite magma chamber into thorough structurally weak zones of the upper crust. The decompression induced mixing was facilitated by coval extension tectonics and the structures in the Norris Mammoth corridor. Extra caldera rhyolites are some of the first volcanic following the collapse of the current caldera, and also some of the youngest volcanics in the Yellowstone Plateau, and require further understanding of volcanism in the Yellowstone Plateau. So I've talked about the unzipping when there was multiple eruptions starting from the north, swooping around, going to Heart Lake, and then the two resurgent domes collapse at the same time. Another footnote from December of last year. The team found that seismic waves slowed to a crawl when traveling 2 to 5 miles down. That's from where people are walking, corresponding to the upper segment to where Yellowstone's volcanic shallower magma chamber reservoir is thought to be. This suggests that up to 20% of the entire reservoir is molten, just 2 to 5 miles down. The rule of thumb is that reservoirs cannot produce eruptions without being 35% to 50% molten. That value, which volcanologists frequently debate, is likely to vary between volcanoes. Regardless, Yellowstone's 20% is still well below the critical threshold, they say. Let's see, the youngest mixed magma there at Yellowstone. The youngest volcanic deposit associated with Yellowstone caldera is Crystal Springs Flow, between 80, give or take, 3,000 years. Let's see, the other one would be Grizzly Lake, which erupted maybe 260,000 years ago. Gardner River at about 301,000 years ago. And Apollinary's Spring Dome, which erupted about 316,000 years ago. So for the volcanic eruption, an explosive eruption, the most recent was the Crystal Spring lava flow at about 80,000 years ago. So going to Google Earth, this might be the location, I'm not quite sure, for the Crystal Lake lava flows. This is the area where it erupted about 70,000 years ago. And then we got rhyolite flows up over here, which are less than 10,000 years old. Subsequent eruptions within a period of less than 10,000 years, produced the Dry Creek, West Thumb, and Mary Lake flows along the Central Plateau vent zone, and the Buffalo Lake flow along the Madison River Plateau vent zones. As I stated in my last report, many of these eruptions went on for decades. They just didn't erupt and then stop. I don't know if you can see here, but this here is Yellowstone Lake. Down here is where I was at. Up over here, let's go up. This is the area of the earthquake swarm. People need to know the danger of another eruption. It's just a matter of time. Small rhyolite lava flows postdating the Yellowstone caldera have erupted mainly north of the caldera, and one such flow lies near the south entrance to the park. Two distinct types of primary hazards might be associated with small rhyolite eruptions at Yellowstone. Just as for larger rhyolite lava eruptions, initial venting almost certainly would be explosive, eject rhyolite pumice. The coarse fragments would fall back close to the vent, but finer pumice ash would enter the Earth's atmosphere and fall down for many kilometers. Structures, power lines, etc. could be damaged by ash loading, especially if eruption were accompanied by heavy rain. The initial explosive eruption could last a few hours to several weeks, and followed by viscous extrusion of rhyolite lava covering several square kilometers to tens of meters thick. Lava could continue to extrude for many months or even years. Viscous rhyolite lava would advance much more slowly than basalt lava flows. Most affected facilities could be safely evacuated and perhaps relocated. The average reoccurrence period of small extra-caldera rhyolite eruptions in the Yellowstone Plateau volcano field is about every 50,000 years. In addition to primary hazards posed by any future eruption of basalt or a small or large rhyolite lava eruption, important possible secondary consequences, including wildland fires, debris flows, and floods triggered by the displacement of surface drainage by lava. The most devastating eruption would be the mixing of lavas. Like I said, the Honga Tonga eruption, when that lava started to mix, it was only 1 hour. So there wasn't really any precursor to a warning, such as uplift or volcanic tremors, things like that. There was none of that before the Honga Tonga eruption. All right, for the only earthquake that USGS is reporting, that 0.8, looks like the strongest signature comes from Holmes Hill. It doesn't really show up at all at Denny Creek. Here we have the western boundary, Holmes Hill, and the borehole. It does show up there. I got the data. Borehole 207. Let's look at the seismic signature on these two. Let's go to the borehole. I'll extract that from the borehole. Alright, and we'll go to the spectrogram. Looks like it comes in as a magnitude 1.28. Now this is the borehole, like I said, a very deep well. Probably close to 600 feet. 550 to 600 feet. Here we have a diagram of that borehole. Borehole 207. It says it's for the Madison River area. Top has got a cap of cement. The tilt meter is 80 feet down. Let's see. The seismometer is 661 feet down. Let me make that bigger for you. I'll bring this down. Yeah, 661 feet to 663 feet. So it is a very deep well. There's no way it's picking up any outside noise. And it's marked in red, but they're saying that it's a magnitude 0.8. And you can see here, let me bring it over a little bit. There's other earthquakes. Are any of them marked in red? No, none of them are. But there's others that they did not report. We'll go to the seismic signature. There's one there. Another small one there. And another one. Another one. Let's see. One there. Another one there. Another one there. Yeah, this is not noise because it is a very deep well. And then more recently, we got that one, and that one, and that one. And like I said, the data stopped for some reason. So let's go to the monitor for Holmes Hill. Yeah, we got the earthquake right there. That's it there. We got a thickening of the lines. Let's extract that and see what we got going on here. Looks like tectonic in nature. Yeah, we got the Teton fault that runs up through here, through Yellowstone. Yeah, well, we got a small one there. And let's take a look at the spectrogram. Let's see. I'll come down to where I pulled the files. Right there. So let's go to the western boundary. Let's close that out. and go to what it was showing when I pulled the files. Again, this is showing fault movement or tectonic movement. Let's close it. Well, let me go here. And we'll come up. You can see we got thickening here. And let's take a look. We'll make that bigger, but see, it's all sharpened points. This is not far from where those buffalo were run over. 13 of them killed were, probably about a month ago. And that one's marked in red. Right there. Let's take a look. Yeah, now see, this is a little bit more rounded. Yeah, they actually call this blobs of magma that's coming in. There's one marked in red there, it looks like. And another one right there. Yeah, see, those are more rounded. Yeah, that's their actual scientific name, blobs of magma. When it's ascending, coming up, you can see how thicker it is there. What I haven't covered in quite a while is the tilt data. So let's see what I can see for the borehole 207 for the tilt. Yeah, I haven't done this in a while. Lots of dots means lots of earthquakes. Yeah, and it's rising. This is the borehole. And it's going, northwest, the uplift. And then here we can see, see all the little dots here? That was back on probably between the 6th and the 7th. This is for the last month. Slowly rising. Okay, let's look at another one. Borehole 208 for Yellowstone. I don't know if that's a lake or what, but yeah, see, it stopped working. It just isn't working. And let's try Grant. Okay, Grant's working. Now that is on the western side of Yellowstone Lake. Okay, the last week. Yeah, seeing it's, going towards the northwest. Those are all earthquakes that affected the monitor. And then the last 30 days, looks like it's holding fairly steady there at the lake. Alright, last 30 days. And this is when they started tracking it, going back in 2009. The gaps here are where they reset the machine. Alright, the Norris Geyser Basin, borehole 950. And yeah, it stopped working too back on the 19th. It was going up. Look at that. On the 14th, it made a sudden jump back on the 14th. And it was rising, going towards the north. And then this is the last 30 days. See, it came down and then it started coming up again. See that? Yep. And then the last 30 days minus the days that it stopped working. Yep. And then going back to when they started monitoring the tilt back in 2014. They'll tell you that, Yellowstone breathes. It goes up and down, and you can see these subtle downward movements, but the trend has been rising, inflating. Looks like they got a lot of people, probably on snowmobiles. Yeah, it's a little dirty. I still want those live gas readings. Yeah, if we can get Hillary Clinton's emails, I should be able to get the link to the live gas readings. There is at least one monitor there that is monitoring what the gases are that's coming up second by second. And I wish someone would give me the opportunity to get that and look at that. That would be so telling. Anyways, yeah, this is a little lengthy once again. I hope you enjoyed it. Please thumbs up my videos, and it will help with the ranking. The interview that I had with Creative Society, they should be putting that out soon. Hopefully that turned out okay. I don't know. But make sure you're still subscribed. The AI for YouTube often unsubscribes people. Yeah. So make sure you're still subscribed. Always be prepared for a disaster. You just don't know when it's going to happen. Could be a small eruption, a large eruption. Either way, it's going to be devastating. What are your thoughts? Put your comments down below, please. Thank you very much for joining our community here. And thank you for taking the time to watch my video. Please stay safe. Always be prepared for any type of disaster. Could be a flood, could be a tornado. Yeah, they had a possible tornado that went through New Jersey. I'm going to be doing a report about that. Anything. Yeah, we got war coming. Who knows? Be prepared. Please stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless y'all. Bye.